Hey everyone, this is Chuck here. Good to see you this evening. Going to switch over to sharing our screen here, and we're going to spend our time talking about the product life cycle analysis, or really the product life cycle itself. So we've got the picture up here on the screen. Let me walk you through it first, and then let's talk about the so what behind it, why we should care for it. So what we've got here, looking on the left side, the y-axis on the graph is going to be revenue, dollars, euros, whatever the currency is. Bottom is looking at the product over time. And so what we've got going on here is 4 stages of product life cycle. Introduction, number 1, growth second, maturity third, decline fourth. And so what the introduction, if you look at the 2 curves on the right side, you see a sales curve and a profit curve. So when a product starts out, it's just getting introduction. And so sales just kind of starts creeping up and growing a little bit here. And from a profitability standpoint, we've got so much investment going on, we're probably not making money. And then at some point, hopefully the product takes off and sales grows. And when that happens at some point, then we start making some profit and building profit. Like many profits there, what we end up finding in the conversation is we reach a point that we call maturity, number 3, which says, hey, sales levels kind of flatten out and plateau, and that's our most profitable time. And then at some point, sales start to decline. And then, of course, profit goes down with it because we're not selling as many items. Now, question then becomes, okay, so what? What's that got to do with Hudson Supply Chain? Well, if you think of it from a scheduling standpoint, the introduction area is kind of like pilot work, and maybe which is kind of engineer to order, and then maybe make to order. So the demand's not there. The piloting, we're scrambling to get resources in and materials in so engineers can design it. Marketing folks can hand out samples of the product, get people interested, educate them, etc. So we're more of an engineer to order and make to order approach that goes with it, starting to ask for forecasts, things like that. When sales take off, we probably still have an element of make to order because we're getting initial forecasts and sales are taking off. So we want to commit to those forecasts, but we're still probably in a functional layout perhaps because the demand's at the lower end, but it is growing. We're starting to make some money as well, so we can invest in it. So it's kind of a make to order moving towards make to stock, depending on how fast we grow. When we hit maturity, it's definitely a make to stock type situation. We've got demand at its peak up here. We can maybe consider make to stock situations, full systems, etc. Our goal also from a profitability standpoint is to try and maintain and maximize and protect that profit because that is where we make our most money. That money we make also allows us to invest in new products that kind of sit behind our existing product and will replace it at some point. And then at some point where sales start to tail off, maybe die out a bit, new products are coming online, sales drops. So we start working our way back. Maybe there's still a little bit of make to stock, but at the same time, we're moving back towards a make to order environment. Profits are dropping a bit. So what does all this mean to you and I in supply chain? You can see at the bottom here, as we move from engineer to order to make to stock and back to make to order over time, what ends up happening is how we schedule, how we forecast, how we plan things are all going to be different in each environment. So we're not going to schedule the same way and manufacture the same way as we move through these curves. If you think of the tasks that we do in the intro stage, it's going to be more concurrent design, scrambling to get samples, finding the suppliers, hopefully have been done by then, working on contracts with suppliers. And then as we move up the growth curve here, then our inventory management and blanket POs come into occurrence here and all those things. So as we move through the time, how we do our tasks are going to change. Even the resources change if you think about it. In the intro and the growth area, this is when we're adding resources into work centers and physical space and the investments that go with that. And on the other side, when things start moving out of maturity into decline, the resource conversations come into play here also, because now we have to move and reallocate existing resources into new things that are coming about. Inventory levels, we probably struggle to maintain inventories, and we're figuring out safety stocks on the intro to growth side. And then inventory levels, we can get into pull systems and Kanban and the maturity, and we can level out and level schedule and level produce and carry inventory there. And then again, as we see sales drop, we're going to change how we inventory. We don't want to get caught with obsoletes or excess, so we watch a little bit closer there. And even from again, this is Chuck speculating here, but I think of a product, I'm going to say on the left here, BlackBerry, you remember that as a phone, versus Apple. BlackBerry had the one phone, if you all remember that. They kind of replaced the Razor from Motorola and blew Motorola out of the water, and everybody jumped over to the BlackBerry because it's the first one with the keyboard out there. So it rapidly went up the growth, stayed at maturity. The problem, one of the problems I would suspect that BlackBerry ran into is, while the BlackBerry, I'll put that by BB on top, from a product profile, they really didn't have anything coming through the intro or the growth stages. And so when Apple came around and the touchscreen, everybody jumped out of the BlackBerries and jumped over to the Apple iPhones, which was going up the curve here. And what Apple's done really well is, as they've moved up the curve, they've introduced variants and forms of the Apple phone behind it. So they've always got products in all four stages. BlackBerry, when Apple kind of jumped in and blew them out of the water, BlackBerry started declining, and they didn't have anything behind them, and they had no way to keep up. And it's probably one of the reasons it went out of business. So we need to understand the product life cycle, but at the same time, we also need to make sure we think about how this impacts supply chain. And the main thing that how we do our work in supply chain is probably going to evolve and change as we go through the four stages.